ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to the podcast, wherever you are. I have Chris McNulty from Seattle, Washington, and he is a creator and product visionary. He's got a lot of interesting ideas. He's got two podcasts, of which he is a host. And we're going to talk about digital work, strategic transformation, marketing. And I'm really happy to have him on and discuss the latest trends in technology, marketing, and business and entrepreneurship. Chris, welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks.
Yeah. Briefly chronicle your journey and we'll dive into the questions.
Oh, sure. I live just outside of Seattle, Washington. I've spent most of the last 10 years as Senior Director of Product Marketing for Microsoft before a year ago branching out to join Syner as one of its principals. Syner is a management consulting firm. We are a lot smaller than Microsoft, about 15 people. Prior to that, I was Chief Technology Officer at the software division of Dell and a couple of other systems integration firms. And I've been an advisor and continue being on the boards of multiple for-profits as well as nonprofits. I've taken a couple of startups through buyout. And so that's a little bit about me and my professional history.
Yeah, excellent. And so talk about when clients come to you, the client avatar, what is their number one pain point or frustration, or what is their aspiration or desire?
That's a great question. When clients come to us, usually their initial pain point is different from what's actually going on. And so we spend a fair bit of time trying to get to the root of what the problem is. Because sometimes what comes to us is a question about technology. Should we build or buy our own resource management system? Or finance? How should we deal with offshore assets? Should we invest offshore? When should we repatriate them? Or how do we deal with growth in the organization and the leadership train? The thing that it comes back to 9 times out of 10 is putting a culture in place to establish a strategy and be able to execute that strategy with a regular focus over the weeks, months, quarters, and years. Because many organizations actually don't have a clear handle on what a strategy is.
Yeah. Yeah. So next question is talk about with AI, how can organizations best prepare for the future of AI?
So my guidance is usually to think about AI back to front. There are many organizations, some of whom come to us for guidance on how do we get started with AI. Getting started is not a problem. Whether you jump to the free services or ChatGPT or the professional services like Copilot or Gemini, you shouldn't just start and say, we need to have AI. AI is a powerful force multiplier, but it is better to start at the end. What are the organization's operating pain points? Work to what those scenarios should be, and then use AI, figure out how you're going to deploy it to match those scenarios. For instance, You may have a scale issue in your go-to-market for how you generate marketing collateral. If so, let's talk about what that looks like and how AI can help. Or you may be struggling with workflows and how do we get the right automation built inside our organization. Again, these are places where AI can help, but AI is not, magic pixie dust. You can't just turn it on and hope for the best. And asking ChatGPT to do everything for you doesn't really work. So have those specific scenarios and have a plan in mind for how you're going to deploy them, what tools, any training that you need before you step into it.
Interesting. Next question is, what guidance do you give to companies who are trying to break through to new customers and markets?
So that comes down to what I was saying earlier about strategy. So usually it involves making a choice. Strategy is fundamentally, I like to explain to our clients, it's typically an either or. Strategy does not just mean tactics on a larger scale. It's very easy to start saying, we're going to do some strategic planning, which sounds more important, but plans and strategies are very different. And so in doing that, you need to be looking to see not just, can we establish new products or can we engage new customers, but where can you specialize and where can you win? And that's a place, I'll bring it back to, AI can be a powerful tool to do that research. For instance, if you have a product that services the petrochemical industry, some of those products might actually work in parallel for pharmaceutical. Again, you may not know, but if that is the kind of the path that you're on, figuring out what are the pain points in this area that are different from that we can address. And secondly, how can we win? What needs to be true for us to be successful in here? And with that, you need to differentiate. Organizations that try to go broad, go everywhere, scale in 5 dimensions at once, seldom move down any of those paths. So being particular, making choices, and understanding that usually a choice to do one thing is a choice to stop doing something else. So if you were going to work on going from focusing on certain geographies to other geographies, or if you're looking at industry sectors, or if you have been a B2B organization and you want to become a business to consumer organization, those sometimes mean to be successful here, we're going to give up that, which can be scary, and there's risk, but risk is usually correlated to a return.
Interesting. Excuse me. We'll shift gears, and you talked about you worked at Microsoft, and talk about Microsoft and digital work and the work it's doing with OpenAI.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So Microsoft, along with some of its colleagues across the industry, really takes a platform approach as a best platform as opposed to best of breed solutions. And so what that really means when it comes to AI is Microsoft's got a very close partnership with OpenAI. Because of the funding, OpenAI runs through Microsoft Azure, which is the development cloud service that Microsoft has. And because of that, it is closely tied to all of Microsoft's modern work capabilities. So whether you're looking at all the different Office tools, the email tools, the meeting tools, the document management tools, things like Teams and SharePoint and OneDrive, all of those things compose together. Whether you're looking to use the native tools, which are Copilot, or leverage the OpenAI APIs for custom development, both of those areas are important. The Copilot vision is very much for how do we take things that are pre-built in the same way that you don't need to build a word processor. You have Word. You don't need to build an email client. You have Outlook and so on and so forth. So there's AI that's there and ready to run. And then on top of it, you can bring in custom AI, whether you're using low-code tools to build agents, the little mini workflows that can do things for you, or something that's more full-fledged, you can do that. That's kind of the Microsoft vision of how this composes. And if you jump a couple miles to Microsoft's West, where Google's Workplace division is headquartered in Kirkland, Washington. So I know some friends over there. You see a lot of the same parallels with once you're in that ecosystem, you have a lot of advantages of integration because your content, your meetings, all of your signals that make your AI particular to your needs are all there ready for you. They've got security on them, and you've got a lot of safety with that. The alternative is to look at best of breed approaches. And whether it's Microsoft or Amazon or Google or other players, that involves swapping some of that pre-connection for things that you have to integrate. The integration shouldn't necessarily be hard. If you are on the lower end of the spectrum, you might be using tools like HubSpot and Zoom. And there are plenty of ways you can plug and compose tools like Zoom and Slack and HubSpot and ChatGPT and various solutions to come together. But it's really going back to the Microsoft vision, is to be able to create packages that are there, that are ready to run, that you can use without having to do a lot of upfront customization.
Interesting. So I'm curious to get your take on a lot of, like, Microsoft partnered with OpenAI, but then like Google and Facebook, they're developing their own large language models. What is the risk of Microsoft not owning and controlling its own large language model?
Microsoft does, first and foremost, there's a misunderstanding about what models are. So if you look at something like Microsoft's Azure AI Foundry, the last time I checked, and it was about 2 months ago, there are about 1,800 separate LLMs that you can get from there. And so the LLMs, or the back end that sits on top of front end solutions that you might see in a Gemini or in a ChatGPT. The extensibility of OpenAI, and part of the relationship with OpenAI, is built on the core APIs that Microsoft provides, not on its own. So the Azure OpenAI framework, which is a public standard, it's how ChatGPT runs. That gives you the ability to also bring other tools and things in. There is a more recent protocol that's been developed actually by Anthropic to allow easier interoperability amongst AI. And that's key. I've written about this as one of the trends to look at. If you look at large scale, what has happened over the past 2 years is not a surprise. Every organization, every major piece of software now has a chat interface. Whether I'm inside Dynamics or Outlook, or I'm in SAP or Salesforce or OpenText or what have you, they all have some way of doing things, but they don't all connect together, right? So if I'm getting ready for a meeting with, say, Wells Fargo, I need to ask Copilot what it knows, and then probably jump over to ServiceNow and see what happens over there, and so on. So there is real customer need to see integration, either in how the data gets connected on the back end or in how all the agents and front ends interconnect. One of the things that we have seen is, because those front ends are pretty lightweight, people are getting to them through browsers and mobile apps, they're also fairly easy to jump amongst. So it is not uncommon for organizations to start with Anthropic, move to Google, move to Copilot, and back again. So long as the information is connected and the information is secured, you can find the model that works for you. And in kind of core productivity, those are very well understood areas. It's in some of that emerging things like AI-powered workflow, AI-powered things like video generation. Absolutely, you can get thousands of large language models for that inside of something like Azure. But in the end, if you're really trying to distinguish what you're doing, there's the possibility of building your own LLM. That way, that's something that you control, and you have a lot of choices to make about whether that's something that you compose on Amazon, on Microsoft, or on Google. But fortunately, for those of you who aren't technical, I'll just say there is a container architecture to make porting amongst all those different solutions simpler.
Interesting. The next question is, what are your thoughts and views on AI agents?
I think there's a lot of hype. And if you look at, I was talking at a conference 2 weeks ago about this, there's a continuity of what actually people are trying to do. If you start in kind of the workflow platforms that you saw in the last decade, the Zapiers, the Power Platforms are on the big end, things like Pega. Roll it forward into RPA, roll it forward into agents and IDP. Fundamentally, all these things are about is automation. Where are we with agents? Right now, agents are little bits of workflow that you can run. The promise is you can build an agent that is going to dynamically watch your website, watch your inbound email, look for requests, automatically respond to them. If a customer wants to buy something, send them a sales order, wait for the transaction to come through, send a message to fulfillment, make sure that the money lands in your account, and just let you know how it's going. That sounds great. That may happen sometime in 5 to 10 years. That's not where we are right now. The way that you build any automation there is by building a lot of individual parts. It's going to get easier. And so there are lots of things agents are good for now. Being able to help you develop a knowledge base that you expose in a website. Those are great uses of agents. And you need to be thoughtful, as I was saying before, about what are the use cases where you have the most pain point, where you have the most scale issues, where some level of automation can help. At the same time, agent is not something that is going to solve things out of the box. If you look at the ways that people are building agents, there's lots of tools that you can use to build agents or GPTs, or call them what you will. Now, anyone can build their own agent. 99% of them are useless. Like, you can build an agent to say, what was the name of the last file I worked on? Great. You can do it. You can prove it. Is there any real business value in doing that? Probably not. There's other better uses of that automation. So there's going to be a hype cycle this year. It doesn't mean that there's no potential, but it's something that I'm looking for uptick in the practicality of starting in 2026.
Interesting. How can people connect with you and find out more about you?
Oh, absolutely. So I'll be appearing at the MGM Grand May 5th through 8th as part of the M365 conference in Las Vegas. I'm also appearing at the Seattle Convention Center the last week of June. And you can get in touch with me through my personal website, which is a little easier to spell, chrismcnulty.net. I'm fairly active in things like LinkedIn and social. You can also connect to me through Syner. We'll add that to the show notes. It's harder to spell from the pronunciation. And for those of you driving at home, hopefully Chris can get this in the show notes. It's synozur.com.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on and offering your valuable wisdom and advice.
Thanks a lot.